Well, hello there and welcome to another edition of Warbird Wednesday. My name is Fred Bell. I'm the Vice Chairman of the Palm Springs Air Museum. We're out today with the little airplane that could. We're out with the A-4 Skyhawk, if you can believe that. We're out front of the museum. So I got a bunch of people looking at me out here today. Now, as you will know, or notice, I have my ears on again. Greg's got this thing going on with ears. This is my May the 4th tribute. I've got my Yoda ears on. I'm gonna go ahead and get these off. So I'm gonna take these off. Now, Greg is on assignment today, and I have my millennial with me today, Jason, who is filling in. So I'm gonna toss this. He's my full mort assistant. I'm going to toss this off camera. Now, Jason, these hats have never touched the ground, so you have to carry this. So I'm going to get it over there. Oh!
Looking deep for Jason. Caught and dumped, not getting up.
And another great catch. So we got a little bit of wind out here today, but we're working on the A-4 Skyhawk. Now, this aircraft is definitely the little airplane that could.
Here is the familiar hawk, lean, strong, and swift. Its rhythm and grace are beautiful to watch, yet it is deadly and accurate. For its very well-being is dependent upon its ability to maneuver crisply and strike with the speed of lightning. Here is another hawk, the Douglas Skyhawk, also familiar for its lean, powerful, and graceful performance. It too is deadly and accurate, and like its namesake, carries no excess weight, no frills unnecessary to its function as an attack bomber. Its size, weight, and design simplicity startled the aviation world. The versatility, reliability, and tremendous firepower has made the Douglas Skyhawk the most outstanding attack bomber in the world today. The A-4D Skyhawk, or DA-101 as the export version is called, is an extremely small, high-performance, high-payload military attack bomber. The Skyhawk is so small, it can be stored on carriers without folding its wings. So fast that it can operate as a fighter. And so powerful, it carries a bigger striking load farther and faster than any airplane of its size. It is only 39 feet in length, with a wingspan of 27.5 feet and a height of 15 feet. The weight of the aircraft is 15,000 pounds. It is powered by one Wright J65 turbojet with a thrust of 7,700 pounds.
Good. I'm going to hold it up here and give you a nice plan view. Now, the interesting thing, and you can see this by the A-4, is the advantage that the A-4 had was size. I'm going to talk about that and some of the things the Navy wanted. This was another aircraft that came out of a Navy requirement to replace the Sky Raider. The big thing about the A-4 Skyhawk was that the wings, they didn't want the wings to fold. In other words, the airplane had to be very tight. So if you'll notice, the aircraft, and Greg can throw up a plan view, does not have folding wings. The other thing about it was the way that the tail came off to service the engine was actually unique because it eliminated a lot of the service panels.
It should be noted that the high operational availability time and reduced maintenance manpower is another highly desirable saving in operation costs. The simplicity of the design permits 4 bolted sections to separate into 4 individual units for inspection or major repair, as the case may be. The forward fuselage, the wing, which is rarely removed, the engine, and the rear fuselage. Each of 3 sections can be stocked as completely unitized replacement items. The sections are interchangeable between aircraft, thus considerably reducing the downtime of an aircraft. The ease of accessibility to internal systems permits inspection and repairs to be accomplished at the airplane or separately at a workbench in a shop.
Now, this aircraft was designed by a guy who is in the Aviation Hall of Fame, Ed Hindman. Now, if you know that name, and you might, he's in the Aviation Hall of Fame. He also designed a number of aircraft, but he designed one that was amazing, and that is the SBD. He was involved in the SBD Dauntless, and later in life, before he retired in the early 1970s, he was involved in bringing the F-16 program to life. So Ed was a really prolific aircraft designer. So as I said, this aircraft was designed to be very compact, very tight. By having that, it had one really good advantage, and that was it could fit. Remember, we talked about midway class carriers and the smaller carriers before we went to the super carrier. It could fit on those carriers quite easily, so the Navy liked it quite a bit. The first flight was in 1954, and it was introduced in 1956. An XA-4D-1 set a speed record, to give you an idea how cutting edge this airplane was, in 1955. Now, the big advantage with it was again, this size. It was continually upgraded. Now, it was retired by the U.S. Navy in 2003. There were 2,960 of them built, very high number of the airplane. Now, an interesting thing here, Jason, I keep wanting to say Greg, but it's Jason. Interesting thing here, Jason, is the cost of these airplanes. You want to know what this airplane cost, the first 500 of them? $860,000 a copy. That's like the wheel of a F-18. They were very, very cost effective in the Navy arsenal. Now, they came into service, and like a lot of these other aircraft, the Century Series fighters and these early Navy designs, or I want to say really midterm Navy designs, this aircraft ended up flying a lot of strike missions in Vietnam. It lost, of all types in the Vietnam period, there were 362 of them lost, both to operational accidents, anti-aircraft fire, missiles. There's actually even air-to-air. They lost one air-to-air to a MiG. So they were highly, highly involved in that conflict. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and put this down, and we're going to talk about the unique Stage 2 that I have today. Now, keeping with the galactic theme that we have, Greg his presence is here. Today, Jason has picked a highly appropriate Stage 2 for me, Martian poop soda. So I really don't know, with all the rovers and little helicopter flying up there, perhaps it's appropriate, but I am going to, this is Martian poop soda. And it is quite interesting. If Greg can throw up that label, it's actually quite disturbing. Made by a usual suspect, Rocket Fizz Soda, who's come up with some other really scary sodas. But what I want to talk about is if you were an intermediate, one of these short strike fighter guys flying in Vietnam, you had a tough job. This was a tough job. These aircraft really didn't have a lot of air-to-air. They were primarily close strike airplanes, and it was very tough. We're going to talk about their use after Vietnam, but if any of you Skyhawk drivers, I want to go ahead and salute you. I'm going to pop this. Okay, there we go. We'll get that down. Now, let's see here with my Martian poop. We're going to put that down here. We got a little bit of wind out here today. You know what, Jason? Martian poop is actually quite tasty. Who knew? It's actually not bad. I'm going to have another swig of this. What's the calories on this? 170 calories. So this is actually pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and put down my exciting soda here. We're going to set our A-4 back on its little stand and put it over here. So the A-4 has been called quite a diminutive fighter. It's been called the kiddie fighter or the tricycle fighter, obviously because of the 3-point gear. People made fun of it, but it was very, very effective. The last Navy fleet operator on this was VC-8, which stood down in 2003. But the aircraft lived on. Now, it lived on and it served very well in export. Jason, did you know that? Both for the Israeli Air Force that used them a ton. The Israelis used these aircraft, and there's all kinds of variants, and it saw a ton of combat. It was actually stood down by the Israeli Air Force in 2015, but prior to that, it was a stalwart aircraft. And one of the things about this airplane is the hump. The later versions of this aircraft, as they added more and more avionics, you could see right across the back of the airplane, there was a lot more antennas, those fins, and this hump got a lot bigger. We're going to talk about some electronic warfare uses, but the Israelis used it a lot, and then the other ones that used it a great deal were the Argentinians. Jason, did you know that? Argentina used it, and we've talked about this with the Harrier. We did the Harrier segment, but in the Falklands War, the Argentinians used it a great deal, very effective. They did have combat losses to the Harriers because the British had superior air-to-air missile systems, but they did not have at all, and this was, we've touched on it a little bit, but the British Navy became a component navy in NATO, and one of the things that they learned in the Falklands was that the weapons systems, both the anti-air and anti-missile systems that they had, so the anti-aircraft systems or anti-missile systems just didn't work. And the Argentinians were coming in at nap of the earth with these A-4s, these little, you can see how small the cross-section is on this airplane, with these little fighters with iron bombs, and they were, and this is a technical term, they were playing hell with the British. The British had a very, very tough time. So the Argentinian Air Force did just a tremendous job against really what was thought to be a superior adversary. In other words, that people thought the British would have the upper hand, but the Argentines, with their Mirage jets and with these small A4s and the Super Etendards, which were the cruise missile aircraft with exocets, really, really gave the British a tough time at sea. So Argentina proved this airplane again to be very well. It is continued to operate in a number of export air forces. And the other thing is, it's kind of like, Jason, like the C-130. We talked about the Cobra and the UE gunships having these just long, long lives. I'll tell you another one, probably the A-10. We'll do an A-10 here at one of these days. The A-10 has a tremendously long life, but Skyhawk lives on, and it lives on a great deal with Draken and some of these adversary, now these for-hire air forces, because what they're doing is the more and more the Navy, the Air Force, a lot of these traditional air forces that would use internal kind of countermeasures, training programs are not using those because it's expensive to operate them internally. So what they're doing is they're hiring it out. So you're going to see more and more of this. A lot of those aircraft are ex-Israeli airplanes with the Israelis, or out of Singapore, some of those airplanes. But I think you're going to see the Skyhawk continue to fly as an adversary airplane for quite some time. Now, this aircraft is a TA-4J. Greg can throw up the bureau number this airplane actually flew into the museum. Ironically enough, it's going to be repainted in this adversary paint job in about a week. So Jason, this is the last we're going to see it when it flew in, but it's going to get the same paint job, get spruced up a little bit. It is a gate guard for us outside, but this TA-4J here was one of the last adversary airplanes in the United States Navy when it flew in and retired. Now, and Jason is our gift shop guy, so this is important. If you are a Vietnam veteran, you need to have one of these hats. Jason will happily send out the hat. We affectionately call him Jer Bear. Jer Bear will get in there and send you one of those hats. So place your order. This one is great if you're a Vietnam veteran, but go out to the web store. Maybe you see something else you like, but go out and get one of these hats. So, what is the legacy of this aircraft? I think the legacy is that anytime you have a really good design like this, and what we're talking about is having all this longevity and can be modified more and more and more, as long as you have a good basic design, these airplanes will go on for a tremendously long time, and this one is going to be one of those examples. Now, remember, we can't do this without you. If you see us on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like us on YouTube, like us on Facebook. We're talking about repainting these airplanes and preserving them. We can't do that without your help, so go out and give us a donation on our web page. Go out to our donate page, but we need your help to make sure that this history goes on. I want to thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Fred Bell. I'm the Vice Chairman of the Palm Springs Air Museum. Thank you so much. Have a great day.